So this is the 2020 Audi A3. Apologies for being a bit late to the game on this one. Pandemic meant that this car got shunted out of me a few times, but this is a saloon one, and pound for pound, the saloon Audi A3 is the best looking saloon you can buy in the market today. But what if I told you that this is a 1 litre petrol? Would that scare you? Think about that for a minute. 1 litre petrol Audi A3, not A1, not a little tiny 5-door hatchback. This is a saloon car. Want to find out more? Subscribe. Let's do this. So I'll tell you what, let's start off with the exterior of the car, right? So I have my little Sony camera here and I'll draw attention to a few bits and pieces around the car that I don't like. Well, that I do like and don't like. So looking at the front of the car now, you can see it's very angry looking. There's a lot of lines and cuts there. Isn't there a lot of cut across the front here? And then you've got this kind of separator, what I would call a separator, across the bonnet line here. This plastic bit in the front and the bonnet in the back of it. They've made the lights teardrop, so instead of being an absolutely straight line going across this way, they've added this bit to the bottom of it. Interesting. No fog lamps or spot lamps on the bottom here. The grille is quite dominant, although not a BMW size dominant. It's overall a very cool look, and I still think it's one of the prettiest cars in the segment by a long way. Plus its proportions are really good. So when you look down the side of the car, wheelbase looks kind of short, but in actual fact it's quite good. Lots of curves and drop lines, so there's actually small lines going that way and underneath, and the drop line going on the side. Shoulder line here as well. And then coming around the back, you have that really snub-tailed saloon look to it, which really works very well. Extra kind of false vents down here in the bottom, fake exhaust on the bottom as well. And then we go to the boot, where when you look in, you think it's not much, but actually it goes back quite a distance in there when you're looking around. Now, some notable things that are actually missing from the car. All the shopping bag hooks are gone from this. You used to have pull down hooks and things here. All kind of sensible stuff, all gone out of it now. The warning triangle is still up here where it was, and a small handle here to pull it down. Not an electric tailgate. So again, coming around the front here, it does really cut the mustard. It looks the part. But then you have the engine underneath, which doesn't necessarily suit the car. You know, when you start thinking about the little size of the car, it's quite small. Like, look on the inside. This isn't a very big car on the inside, or the outside for that matter. Anyway, so that's the exterior. Cutting edge, subtle, evolutionary, not revolutionary. Let's have a look at the inside, because there's big changes in there, and the way it looks particularly has changed massively. So yes, interior has changed quite a bit. You do have to sort of climb into it. It's quite low. The seats are quite tight. Visually is where it all changed. Don't mind that. That's my phone holder. But visually, this has changed entirely in here. As you can see from the camera here, you got two big vents over that side. Then you have this middle user interface here. Then you have a vent up here perched on top of that, and a vent over here perched up on top of here. And I can't explain. It makes me twitch a little bit. It's just, I don't know why. It just doesn't. I know what they're trying to achieve, which is to move the infotainment system down so you have a better view out the window undisturbed by notifications and so on. And it's pushed down the screen. But this just doesn't look like it's supposed to be there. It looks like it's been added on. I mean, years ago I used to sell motor parts, and in selling the motor parts, we used to sell quite a bit of ceramic heaters. You know, the ceramic heaters, you plug them into a 12-volt socket and it would keep the car from misting up overnight and stuff. And it looks like one of them. It looks like it's been added on. It just doesn't seem to fit there. Anyway, that aside, visually everything's different, and physically things are a bit different as well. So things that are gone missing, I'm going to put that in there a bit. Things that are gone missing. The volume knob is gone. It's not a knob anymore. Now it's a touchy thing over here, which just mutes in volume as a rocker. So it's a sort of a rocker switch, which I preferred the knob, if I'm honest. The knob was nicer. So, checking remote access rights. See this thing on the screen? Some weird stuff, some really oddball stuff goes on in these cars. So if I start it up, you'll see what I'm talking about, oddball. There's that little 3-cylinder engine going. It sounds wrong for For an Audi, it really does sound wrong. So I have a digital dash like you would in other ones, right? I don't have a view changer, so like it doesn't change the view. Like it's not like a big Pilot one, it just flicks through on and off, and that's kind of it, right? We'll come back to this for a minute. So I can select user or continue as guest, just continue as guest for the moment. But this comes up. See, this comes up every time. You're not allowed to go any further or see anything else on the screen. It'll play the radio, but you can't go any further until you've decided to say what the privacy things are. So if I go to privacy, because I'm a guest, it talks about online data collection. And you see all these data collection things? Telling you boys, you have to agree. Soon you'll have to watch an ad to play anything on a screen here. You have to watch an ad for Vodafone before you decide to watch anything or do anything on your screen. It really is a bit odd these days. Now this is a manual, of course, so 6-speed manual in it. I need to turn down that a little bit. Now what Audi's managed to do is to keep the air conditioning on buttons. They're not knobs anymore, but they are buttons. So they are physical. There is a screen, but they are physical buttons underneath. These buttons here are real buttons. And we have heated seats. In this one, you've got drive select down here as well as an actual button as well. It's too far away, Audi. I know you put it over there because of the left-hand drive ones, but the drive select button should be near the driver. It's not. Like, it needs to be over that way, but shame you don't change sides on that one. The actual infotainment system from Audi is fine. So when you press the home button, you're left with this. This is very familiar. I've seen this before a million times. But you are getting things added like legal and purchases to it, users, messages. There's lots of things that are being added to your little menu system. Weren't there before because obviously privacy settings in Europe are different from the States, and all kinds of things that are happening with that end of technology. So infotainment system's fine. Now I think, go to Apple CarPlay. If I unplug my phone and plug it back in again, I have it plugged in on purpose. I've done this. I hope this is going to work. It may not. It might not. Typical. At the moment it lets you down. So we get the telephone here, no device connected, which is just typical. Great. So now I can't activate Apple CarPlay for some reason. Loading sources. That's Bob's phone. Yes, that's my phone. It's picking up the phone from the cable, but it's not picking up on his Apple CarPlay. That's very weird why it's doing that. The rocker switch, Audi. The rocker switch doesn't work. You have to sweep it, move it, press it, do things to it. It's turning it on and off. I'm getting everything, but I'm not getting volume. It's just not. I can't work out which way is up. Look at my hand. Look at my hand. Look, I'm trying to hit the volume is this way, is it? No, that's turned it off. That's fast forward. Yeah, what do you do? Wipe it. Oh, wait, no. Maybe you wipe. Look. You wipe the finger on it. You wipe your finger on it. That sounds wrong, I know, but that's what it's doing. I'm wiping my finger on the thing to make it louder. Still not playing. Well, it is playing. It's moving. The bar is moving, but I don't hear anything. Maybe it's Bluetooth volume. But it's not connected by Bluetooth. It's connected by cable. That's confusing. It's playing, but it's not working. So I can't find Apple CarPlay. I'm sure that came up with it came up with a message at one point, and I dismissed it as if I didn't want it. And now I can't find it to connect it. So maybe it's in the settings. Go in here, settings. Display, brightness, user, connected device, connected settings, media, messages, no, telephone, no. Connected devices. No. Right. Well, that's difficult. Yeah, that doesn't work. Not there. And if I go into navigation now, no navigation license had been purchased. So I don't even have sat nav. Yeah. I'm just going to put the price on the screen of this car just so you can see for yourself where car prices are going. Does that look scary? Just so you know. I'm afraid to say it out loud because I think people will just leave the video at this point without thinking about it. Anyway, moving down, we have a little cubby hole here, a 12-volt socket and a handbrake which is there. There's two USB ports, one USB-C, one USB, whatever the other USB is, just USB. And then over here I have this very blank panel with 3 buttons on it for auto, and then they've changed the handles that are up here and like that. We've done that one before, mind you, and that's really all you get now inside the car. It's kind of disappointing, isn't it? And you can see where I'm going with this, that I love the look of it. I think it's a fabulous looking car, but just we're back to those optional extra things that Audi do. Anyway, it has active parking as well. This car parks itself. Let's look at the back seat. Let's console ourselves into thinking that the back seat is big enough for adults, right? Come on. Right, back seat. This seat is set for me in the front. I didn't move it or anything, and you can see I have enough room here to sit quite comfortably in this car. There's not a fist between me and the seat, but there's enough. The back of that seat is hard plastic, which is good, because it keeps the little baby feet off you. You have 2 vents back here, but no way of controlling them, so no way of even turning them off. You have to just kind of shut them by pushing them over to one side like that, and that shuts them. That's about it. And that's your lot really in the back seat. You do get an armrest in the middle, as you would in all Audis, with 2 cup holders in it. It's a substantial armrest. It's quite comfortable back here in fairness to it. There's no loader through or anything. There's seat belts for 3, but there isn't room for 3. That falls flat beautifully quickly. And you can see the seat belt up here stays up on the shoulder, just on that edge. And it goes back up in one click as well. Isofix on both sides here in the middle. You would, look, if you were skinny, you'd get in the middle of that. But you'd want to be fair skinny now, bye. The rest of it is pretty good. I do like the back of this. It's nice and straightforward. It's not too dark back here. The windows are relatively big, and there's that big Audi thud from the back doors, which is just very reassuring. You're in a big car, you know. Anyway, let's get on with the driving it. It's got a snug cabin. I won't deny that. It is snug in here. But again, I have to do this either select user or continue as guest. If I select user, it just gives me guest users. I have to set up anyway, and I'm back into the privacy yokes. It's just like, why? Anyway, we will set on for the road. Audi gearbox is actually pretty good. It's the Volkswagen's own gearbox, of course. For a manual gearbox, it normally doesn't suit an Audi very much to be in a manual mode. They're usually pretty good at the old DSG. DSG for the win. But this is actually, it's okay in this one. I don't mind it so much. Coming out of my car park. Now, for a word on the engine, right? It is the 1 litre engine that we've had in multiple other cars, including the Audi A1, Polo, all the small range of things that Volkswagen Group do, has all had the little 3-cylinder engine. Even the Seat Me and Skoda Citigo and all, they've all had that 3-cylinder engine as well. It's a great engine. Don't get me wrong, totally reliable. 3 cylinders, easy to work on, cheap to service, cheap to run, the whole show. But does it suit an Audi A3? I'm not so sure. That's a hard one to figure out, because when I think of the brand Audi, so when I think of Audi itself and Vorsprung durch Technik and the sharp design on the exterior of the car and the way it looks and the way it handles on the road and the feeling I have of sitting down in the seat behind the steering wheel ready for action, and then I hear that little putter of the 1 litre engine, it's like, that's a bit of a letdown, isn't it? You know, you expect a little grumble out of it. And I know that's not possible because of the modern way that we're doing CO2 emissions and NOx emissions and trying to get cars as CO2 efficient as humanly possible, even if that sacrifices their fuel efficiency or if it sacrifices the comfort of the driver. We're still after that this greenwashing idea that everything has to be a little bit smaller and a little bit slower because that's the dream of everybody out there. When in actual fact, the vast majority of people who buy this car will buy it because of the way it looks. And that's fine, because I'm happy enough to say that 80% of happy ownership of a car comes from the look of the car, not the way it handles or drives or anything else. The rest is made up by the way it handles and drives. Now, if I take my mind off the engine for a minute and start thinking about the actual interior cabin and how the car feels to drive, it's sublime, it's perfect, it handles beautifully, it's nicely balanced between the wheels, everything works nicely, there's no... You know, the clutch is good, the gearbox is good, it's very easy to drive because it's a 1 litre, of course. The damping is very good, I'm not bobbling about the car. Audi hasn't cheaped out on any other parts in the drivetrain part of the car, but there is some remarkable interior changes about the car as well, which doesn't sit very well with me. It's strange to see the luxury money-making arm of Volkswagen kind of make more affordable cars, which is very weird since this isn't really affordable compared to its competitors. If you start looking at other 1 litres that are on the road today, you start to see the price difference between the whole lot of them. I mean, this is, if I strip it back, this is a 1 litre petrol with a 6-speed box in it, right? So why would you be buying this? Now, overall, if you were getting in or getting out of a luxury car, so if you were moving up the chain, coming up from one of the competitor brands into an Audi, you probably wouldn't be too disappointed by this because it does look very sharp. It is one of the finest looking cars on the road and it handles very well. And the damping system is nice and you do still feel like you're behind the 4 rings. Everything feels good in the car. Slight letdown is the engine, so I probably wouldn't necessarily jump for the 1 litre petrol. There's other choices there that I would choose. The 1.5 litre petrol is quite nice. So necessarily I wouldn't plumb for this engine gearbox combination. I think this is better served by a DSG and a bigger engine in it for sure. But if your goal is to be into the brand, get into Audi at some point when you like the look of the A3, maybe this is your way in. Maybe the 1 litre petrol with a manual gearbox is your best option. Now, I just want to blow the trumpet of that engine. It might be small, but it's feisty and it does go well. And it is very quiet on the motorway. It is very quiet out here on the B roads as well. I don't hear it all the time. You just hear it when you're starting up. It just makes that funny little tickety noise that 3 cylinders do, you know. I've actually enjoyed my time in the A3. It really does look the part. And when you say Audi still has that status symbol, don't make a mistake. Audi still has that ability to go, I'm driving an Audi A3 and I'm like, oh, an Audi shows a picture. It definitely happens the whole time. Always happens with an Audi. It's just difficult explanation when you say I'm driving an Audi A3 1 litre. Then they go, what? How are you driving an Audi 1 litre? What's the story with that? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. A couple of updates. The channel will be expanding. I'll have more videos out very soon. I actually took, for the first time in a decade, I took a week off. Not weird. I actually took a week off uploading and it felt weird, felt very strange, a lot of pressure during the week, but then it kind of eased off after a while. So anyway, I'm going to be uploading twice as much now. Sunday service will be returning soon as well, every Sunday live stream. You can find me on TikTok, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter if you really want to. Multiple ways to get in touch. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing to one of the links down below, Patreon, PayPal or wherever. It really does help the channel, really does. We're hoping to expand this year for bringing new people on board. But thank you very much for watching. And until the next time, I'll see you on the far side.